Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
And here are the pictures that you sent to our eyewitness portal. We begin with this photo sent in from Maitama area of Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. It shows National Youth Service Corps members celebrating with these orphans. They also donated some relief items to them. Our next photo was sent in from Ilogbo area of Ogun State. It shows people walking across a temporary footbridge after the main bridge collapsed after heavy rains there. Our eyewitness reporter calls on state authorities to try to fix it. And this photo was sent in from Ifo area of Ogun State. It shows the aftermath of a road accident. Our eyewitness reporter calls on motorists to be careful while state authorities have been urged to fix the road. And this next photo was sent in from Badon, shows an overloaded truck moving along this road in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Our eyewitness reporter wants state authorities to arrest drivers of such trucks. And finally, is this photo showing refuse dumped along this road in Calabar, the Cross River State capital. Our eyewitness reporter calls on the state authorities to clean up the area. We sincerely thank you so much indeed for sending in those pictures, as we ask that you keep them coming.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
The federal government has taken an additional measure in its bid to ensure that its anti-corruption fight yields the desired results. The government has inaugurated a National Prosecution Coordination Committee, NPCC, for the effective prosecution of high-level criminal cases in the country. Inaugurating the committee in Abuja, the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo gave the assurance that President Muhammadu Buhari would not teleguide the prosecution of the anti-corruption fight. The 20-man committee is headed by the Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, and is also mandated to exercise prosecutorial powers. According to the Vice President, the committee is not a duplication of the existing anti-corruption agencies, but is to collaborate with them for effective service delivery. Barely 24 hours after the Niger Delta Avengers blew up Chevron's Escravos pipeline, the militants say they have blown up a pipeline belonging to the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC. Confirming the attacks on its Twitter feed today, the group said it blew up the NNPC gas and crude trunk line close to Warri in Delta State. Spokesman for the Ijaw Youth Council, Mr. Eric Omare, says that another crude pipeline was attacked on Thursday near Baton Oil Field, and there were two simultaneous attacks as well on the PPMC and NNPC pipelines. This comes as the Minister of State for Petroleum, Ibe Kachuku, said that the government needs to improve its amnesty program for militants in the Niger Delta to address cases of neglect by the government and international oil companies. Meanwhile, the group has threatened what they called something big and accused oil firms in the Niger Delta region of being responsible for the pollution of the area, which it claims has failed to benefit from the oil it sits upon. The militants posted a warning on Twitter that reads, quote, "Watch out, something big is about to happen and it will shock the whole world," end of quote. The administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has come under criticisms for not paying the required attention to the country's infrastructure needs in 1 year of its tenure. Although the administration has been defensive on this, critics say that the government should swing into action without further delays. In continuation of our review of the first year in office of President Muhammadu Buhari, our correspondent Loretta Chiogo x-rays the state of the country's infrastructure.
I assure you that we are going to finally assemble a competent team of Nigerians to efficiently manage this country.
So much promises, but what many say is so far visible in 1 year since President Muhammadu Buhari kick-started a 4-year tenure on May 29 is the government's continuous fight against insurgency in the northeast and the fight against corruption. Take, for instance, the lack of good road networks across the 6 geopolitical zones is enormously affecting the ease of trade and commerce. Lack of school infrastructure, equipped healthcare facilities in which most have been overstretched, especially in the northeast, due to casualties from Boko Haram attacks. Lack of potable water, overstretched prison facilities with overbloated population, and the worst of all, the shortage of electricity, responsible for the downfall of most businesses, leaving many homes in hunger.
For a very long time, all the construction actors, players in the construction industry, had to retrench. They had to lay off their workers because they have not been paid over a period of time since the government came in, and the government said they were waiting for budget, they were waiting for single treasury account, they were waiting for so many things to recover money from people and the rest.
There are 2 comments that I think...
At different fora, government representatives call for calm and patience, but Nigerians demand a change from rhetoric to action.
If the past government didn't try, as majority of Nigeria has spoken, for sure, I key in to say, okay, we need a better government. Such better government cannot also, after 1 year, continue to blame failure on the part of the past. Because the reason they failed was because they didn't do well. And you that have come to do well should build on available resources.
Meanwhile, appearing before lawmakers at the House of Representatives, the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, drops a bombshell that agencies should not expect to get the complete funds appropriated in the 2016 budget due to the paucity of funds.
Part or all of the looted funds is going to...
However, she states that the release of funds will be based on necessity.
What we found is that
Nigerians wait to see the level of implementation of the estimated budget, especially in the area of infrastructure, halfway down the year. Loretta Chiogo, Channels Television News.
Joining me on the news at 10 is one-time presidential candidate and public affairs analyst, Mr. Galtima Liman. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the news at 10 at this time. What is your assessment of the infrastructure development of the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration 1 year into office?
You see, Gimba, right from day one, it has to be understood that Nigeria is a very robust, very huge economy. And so therefore, if you are thinking about solving utilities and the infrastructure deficit in the country, as research has shown, which was corroborated also by the Minister for Power, Works and Housing, Fashola, that even for that sector alone, he requires something close to, I'm not sure, 199 billion US dollars. Earlier on, President Olusegun Obasanjo, in its NEEDS, National Economic Empowerment Development Strategy document, came up with a figure that what he had seen in his own time, given the kind of infrastructure deficit in the country, was something close to about, in his own estimate, something within the range of what Fashola had also said. So therefore, countries like Nigeria that have gotten huge factory endowments, first and foremost, need to ask themselves, what is the comparative advantage that we have as a nation? What is it that we have as a nation that other nations that are wealthy enough, that are ready to front-load huge amount of money can give to us? That's the negotiating platform that Nigeria has. We can begin to say, anybody who talks about Nigeria is the fine grade of oil and gas that you have. And a lot of pseudo-economists, pseudo-scientists, development economists keep on telling you that, yes, you should diversify away from oil and gas. Diversify away from oil and gas. Nobody is telling you to intensify forward and backward integration, because that's a commodity on its own that has not been fully optimized. So if you can optimize the oil and gas itself, research has shown that you have close to about 6,000 products coming from the oil and gas. The one that I know, fertilizer, aviation fuel, diesel, the PMS, paraffin wax, perfumes, pesticides. So these pseudo-economics that I tell you, who are they working for? Now, if for you to convert that to competitive advantage to money, to funds, to huge funds. You need to now nurture that resource base. You see what is happening in the Niger Delta. If you had now looked at that element, that factor endowment that you have as a critical element, you will not allow a situation that will degenerate into what we have now, the Avengers blowing pipelines, because they have not seen anything on ground. So first of all, if you now look at this element as an important key critical factor, you have to realize that even the NASA technology that you're talking about, space technology, uses Nigeria's fine-grade oil. If you now go to the stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange, you don't see Bonny Light, you see New York Light, because somebody is now not allowing you to see what you have. The danger is this. The more we fiddle and take the oil and gas as a joke and blow our pipelines, the more we'll not get the funds to develop the infrastructure, the more we'll find it difficult to even diversify thereafter to leverage other sectors of the economy.
So what's your advice to the government?
The advice is basically this. His Excellency President Buhari has a very good will. He's been well received by the G8. He's been well received by the Chinese. The Chinese today have close to, in surplus, $1 trillion. It's peanuts for them to say, we need $6 billion. If you want to come back and trade with us, it's foreign exchange. Foreign exchange is an exchange. What factory endowments do you have as a country that you are now ready to exchange? Not in cash, but in terms of development. And nobody will bring in his funds for the development needs that you are talking about without constructual safeguards. The first thing Nigeria has as an advantage is that they have now seen an administration whose leadership is transparent and is focused dealing with the corruption issues that had bedeviled the country.
So what's your final words?
The final word is that you need to now go to the international negotiating table as a very strong broker in this deal and attract huge funds to leverage these utilities that you are thinking about, not budgetary allocations of 1 year and 6 months.
Exactly. Former presidential aspirant as well as the public affairs analyst. I want to thank you so much indeed for talking to us on the news at 10. You're watching the news at 10 at this time. We're switching gears very quickly now as we take you to our Abuja studios where Gloria Omezuke is standing by to take us through. Gloria.
Hello, Gimba. Good to see you and welcome to Abuja, the nation's capital. The Federal Capital Territory Administration is reviewing the land allocation in the nation's capital. Speaking at a meeting with members of the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed Bello, said the review became necessary as there are several parcels of land which can be put to more productive use. Malam Bello explains that the FCT is hastening land approval processes as part of efforts to attract investors. The Institute of Human Virology, Nigeria, in conjunction with Access Bank, has set in motion a fundraising campaign to construct a 5 million naira multi-campus center for research and advancement of virology. The chairman of the institute, Professor Umaru Shehu, highlights the need to develop a medical research center to reduce disease infections of public health concern.
Advancement of medical research is key to the well-being of any nation. Nigeria is not taking a backseat in this strain of development. This explains why the Institute of Human Virology Nigeria is having this fundraising banquet aimed at establishing an international research center for medical research. The roll call of respected personalities in the medical field highlights the importance of this event as the chairman of the Institute of Human Virology steps forward to deliver his welcome address.
Our 11 years of experience in public health convinces us that constructing this center is a sustainable step in placing our health and future in our hands, and not exclusively in the hands of foreigners.
The executive director of Access Bank, Mr. Pt.2, announces the bank's plan to partly finance the project as a show of its commitment to the development of the nation's health sector.
Today, we are here to ensure that the IFPM Nigerians achieves its dream aspiration of constructing a world-class international research center of excellence.
Other medical experts also highlight the benefits of medical research and call for generous donations for the construction of a multi-campus research center.
Innovations and tools for monitoring and evaluation of progress. Those are some of the things that we expect health research to deal with. Now, benefits of health research, and I'm doing this in order to go to the next one, so that so as to convince most of our donors, or all our supporters, that if you put your money into health research, that is a good investment.
Both federal and state authorities are also present to support the initiative while commending the efforts made by the public and private stakeholders.
I'm also happy to note that the Institute has expanded its services to other infectious and non-infectious diseases.
Nigerians eagerly await the timely completion of the Medical Research Center as they seek improved interventions in the public health system.
We're going to take a quick break to show you a short documentary.
15 entries have been received from scientists around the world on malaria control in the Nigeria LNG-sponsored $100,000 Nigeria Prize for Science. The submissions came in response to a call for entries, which was published in February 2016 after a suspension of the Science Prize since 2010. According to the General Manager, External Relations of Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Limited, Mr. Kudo Eresieke, major changes have been made to the Science Prize.
Again, the rejuvenation exercise of the Science Prize.
The handing over of the 15 entries from scientists from Nigeria and other parts of the world submitted for the NLNG-sponsored Nigeria Prize for Science to the chairman of the advisory board of the prize, who in turn hands it over to the leader of the panel of judges. Here, executives of the Nigeria LNG Limited panel of judges and members of the advisory board brief media men on the 15 entries of research findings on malaria control. Apart from providing solutions that will reduce the burden of malaria in Nigeria, the winner, who will be announced in the course of the year, will go home with $100,000.
Imagine what this country would be if we found a permanent solution to this scourge. We will be increasing our lifespan, cut down on the scale of infant and maternal mortality, free up funds used in buying drugs for the hospitals, and focusing our resources on more development initiatives.
According to the panel of judges made up of scholars and led by Professor of Pharmacology, Professor Catherine Falade, the entries will be examined on their merits.
Scoring of entries have been predetermined and are in 3 categories: shortlisting criteria, screening criteria, and core criteria. The watchword for the Nigerian LNG Prize for Science is excellence.
This is very important because we are using the platform of the prize to revolutionize the direction of research in our universities.
The other thing which we are doing in the same breath is to try to connect industry with academia, because in solving these problems, we all need to work together. And what we're also trying to inspire is a multidisciplinary approach of dealing with problems of life.
The Nigeria Prize for Science was inaugurated in 2003. However, there has been no winner since 2010 as a result of the quality of entries received. With what has been described as a meticulous review of the prize administration and structure, the management of NLNG is looking forward to the emergence of a winner in this year's Nigeria Prize for Science.
Well, that's it from Abuja. It's back to you, Gimbar.
And thanks indeed, Gloria. Brilliant from our Abuja studios there. When the News at 10 returns, world leaders and private sector players endorse African Development Bank's New Deal on energy as the 51st annual meeting ends in Lusaka. That's on Business News. Join us again.